Okay, we're on lesson 11, which is our introduction to circles. So we're going to first take a look at 3 beneficial definitions to help us with this unit. So to start off, we're just going to talk about a circle. So a circle itself is a set of points that are equidistant from a given point that we're going to call the center. So in our picture, this middle point here is the center of the circle, and the line that's being formed around it is made up of every single point that is an equal distance, which is what equidistant means, an equal distance from that center point. So we're going to be using circles and information about circles to solve questions. So the first thing we really need to know about a circle is what a radius is. So the radius is the distance from the edge of our circle to the center of our circle. And the edge of our circle is any spot on that bordering line. The radius is equal to half of our diameter. So this formula is very helpful to know that its radius is half of our diameter. And our diameter is the full length of our circle. So it goes all the way from one edge through the center to the other edge. And our diameter is made up of 2 of our radii. So the diameter is 2 times the radius, or double the radius. Okay. From there, we have a word bank to fill it in. So it says the blank is the distance around the outer edge of the circle, the perimeter. Okay. So this outer edge of our circle is creating what we call the circumference. And that is just the distance all the way around the circle. So if I started at point C and traveled or ran all the way around the edge of that circle and back to C, my circumference would be the total distance that I just ran. BF, I'm going to use a different color. So B to F, well, that's center dot to the edge, so that is the radius of the circle. The distance that goes all the way across the circle through the center is the diameter. Okay, so it has to go through the center. The space inside the circle is called the area. So the total amount of distance that's covered all within the inside of this circle is my area, the amount of area that's being covered. And it says AG is the diameter of the circle above. Is this true or false? Remember, the diameter has to go through the center. So if I take a look at AG, here's AG. AG is not going through that center point, so it cannot be my diameter, so this is false. Next page. It says calculate the following. If I'm given a radius or given a diameter, I have to find the other. So if the radius is 10, the diameter, well, remember, I'm going to multiply by 2. So 10 times 2, the diameter is 20. If the diameter is 6.2, remember radius is half the diameter. So I'm going to take 6.4. I think I might have said 6.2. 6.4 and divide it by 2. So my radius is 3.2. If my radius is 12.3 inches and I need the diameter, I'm going to multiply that by 2. So 12.3 multiplied by 2. Just going to give me 24.6. And if my diameter is only 1 inch, I'm going to divide by 2. 1 divided by 2 is 1/2. I'm going to write it as a decimal, 0.5. Okay. Number 2. The radius RP is 6 inches. What is the length of AN? Okay, so AN, I'm going to highlight it. A all the way to N, well, that's my diameter. So let's write that on the line. So to find that, I have to take this 6 inches and multiply it by 2. Because both of these little sections, all of these are 6 inches. So if I need that whole line, 6 plus 6, or 6 times 2, would give me the diameter, 12. Next, the diameter of OB is 14. Find the length of XM. Well, XM goes from the edge to the center, so that would be the radius. I'm going to take the diameter and divide it by 2. So the radius is 7. Right, on the next page, I'd like you to try number 1 on your own. So please pause the video and give that a try. When you're all set, unpause and check. Right, you should have 8 times 2, or 16 for the diameter, 14.6 divided by 2, so 7.3 inches for the radius, 6.5, multiply it by 2 to get the diameter of 13. Diameter is 11 divided by 2. My radius should be 5.5. And it's easier here to keep these and write them as decimals if they're a nice decimal. If they're not, then we're going to want to write it as a fraction. So we've got last one, radius is 9, so 9 times 2. My diameter is 18. Number 2, the diameter of Lexa's hula hoop is 36 inches. What is the radius of Lexa's hula hoop? So go ahead and solve that one. You should do 36 and divide it by 2. So your answer should be 18 inches. Number 3, a duck swims from the edge of a circular pond to a fountain in the center of the pond. What term represents or describes the duck's path? Draw it out. So let's go ahead and draw it. So if there's not a diagram, it's a lot easier to understand what's happening if you draw that out. So it says the duck swims from the edge of the pond. So that duck swims from the edge of the pond. There's my duck. He's going to swim to the edge to the center of the pond. What term describes the duck's path? Well, edge to the center, that is the radius. It says number 4, the radius KP is 3 inches. What is the length of NQ? So remember, just because this radius is drawn here, any line from the center to the edge, so all of these are also the radius. So NQ is made up of 2 of the radii, which means it is the diameter. So I'm going to double 3. So 3 times 2, or 3 plus 3 is 6. Right, that's all for this lesson.